Welcome back. In the previous video, we have completed the create to do task, and in this video, we will be working on get to do task. But before that, we need to add the validation on name field. We consider that name field is mandatory and to do cannot create it without this data. Now we can see our validation is working fine and required field error message is displaying to the user. Now let's start working on get to do task. So first we need to create the get to do method in service file, and then this service to do method will call the http get call. Now our http service file is ready to call the get call. So let's quickly see the changes that we did. So we created get to do method. It will call the http client with get call, and in returns we will get to do response. So this is the type. So get to do response is the type, and it contains embedded, and inside the embedded object we will get that all the to dos. So if you will see this http call at port 8080, we can see we are getting underscore embedded, and then we are getting the to dos. So similar structure we will get, and once we get that, we are converting this format in. So we are just taking the to dos and returning from this map operator of RxJS. So we can see here we are returning observable of to dos. Now the next task, we need to create the get to do method in app component.ts file, and this component get to do method will call the service get to do method to get all the to dos, and after getting all to dos it will assign data to local variable of the component. And once we assign the data to local variable, we will iterate the local variable to display all the to do in UI. So as part of second step, we have created the to do method in the component, and then we are calling the service to get the to dos. Once we get the to do, we are assigning to the local variable, and then we are iterating this local variable in the UI. So this is our for loop, and then we are taking name and description and displaying in the UI. Now if we will go and see, still we can see like test and test previous, but previously it was the hard coded data. Now we are getting from the database. If let's try to create one more to do. So test one submit. So we can see our post call submitted the data. Let's refresh currently. So we can see our another record is iterated in the UI. And as I said earlier, this data we are getting through the database. or we can also say that we are calling the get API, and get API is, this is our Spring Boot service that is calling the database or getting the data, and we are getting that data inside this underscore embedded key, then todos, and this is our data. And we also observed one issue. Whenever we created this test one, immediately it is not reflected in the UI. So let's fix the issue. Actually, whenever we are creating the to do, immediately we have to call the get to do method again. So let's call and see if this is working. Yeah, whenever we created, immediately we called get call. Here we can see get call. This is the post call. So after post we call the get. Either we can get the response from this preview and map to this object, or else we can just call the API. But here is one issue. This is subscribe, and this is all this method is also having another subscribe. So this is actually not good practice, calling subscribe into another subscribe.